Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for this episode 11 on Calmsden Farm with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, it's a little later in the same day where I last left you, and in between then and now, I went and I hooked up to our mowers, and I went and mowed all the grass in our fields. So now we need to go and hook onto our new baler and start baling. And for that, we're going to use our large Massey here, because that baler takes a fair bit of horsepower. If I recall, I think it was 250 horse it required. So our large Massey is the best tractor for that job. Now I find myself a little bit hoarse actually this afternoon because I just got off Farmers of Angevin, which is that multiplayer server. I did an introduction, but I haven't done anything else since. Well, not quite true. I do have another little tour that I did in the can that I'm going to post here right away. But I was on talking to Mikey, one of the fellow farmers, and I don't think there was a lot of farming going on, but there sure was a lot of visiting, and I think I did most of the talking because now I find when I go to record that I'm a little bit hoarse. So you may hear me muting here a bit just to kind of clear my throat, but it's all Mikey's fault. But we had a good chat. Anyway, I was going to mention about the mowers. You know, that is something I find interesting here in FS22, and in that they all use mowers like for grass work. Now that mower setup that we have, the Pottinger with the front and rear wing mowers, we do see those here in Alberta, but they're mostly used to trim, mow the grass in the ditches. Like for hay work, I don't think I've ever seen anybody use a mower. What we use here is something that, well, we call it a swather. And we had something very similar in FS19, if you're familiar with that, where we had the John Deere with the mower on front, and it had the two large drive wheels, and then just had the articulating or like tricycle type wheels on the back. There's dolly wheels. They didn't steer or anything. Well, they'll take units that look just like that, but what is on the front is like the header off a combine. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's exactly the same header, because they use that particular device for two purposes. They cut grass, and of course they can, same thing out to 50-foot headers on these things to cut and windrow the grass, but sometimes they can't direct cut the crop here. Weather conditions or usually weather. I mean, I think they straight cut if at all possible, but particularly canola sometimes they got to knock down. Or if they can't get their harvest completely done and the snow's coming, they'll knock it down and put it in a swath, and then let the snow land on it, and they'll go and pick it up in the spring when the ground is frozen. Of course, they do pay a penalty for that. Quality and yield, no doubt, but something's better than nothing. So that's what they use to knock the grass down. So like in much wider, like say up to 50 plus foot headers they have on those. I just found it interesting that no one has actually put one of those swather type devices in game at all. Anyway, enough yakking about that. We need to buy some silage additive. And these barrels are the most cost-effective way that I found so far of doing that. You're buying by volume, so you get a pretty good deal, but it is a little pricey, but we'll buy one of those. We'll fill our baler up here. And then I'll come back down with the telehandler and move it up to... Oh, look at that. Now, I didn't know that. This takes 120 liters. Most of the forage wagons that I've used so far that have a silage tank on them only take 10 liters. Now they only go through it at a rate. I don't know if I haven't paid like strict attention, but somewhere around 10%, I believe, a load. Something like that, 8-10%. So it lasts a little while, but on some of my farms that have larger fields, I do have to go back and fill it up. But at 120 liters, we can probably do all our baling without filling it. So that's a plus. Now that silage additive is supposed to give us, I think it's an extra 5%, if I believe. I'm just taking the manufacturer's word for that. I haven't actually tested it, but it is supposed to give you some extra volume when you're doing silage. And I don't know, let's unfold this guy. I don't know if there's a round baler that has a silage tank on it. I don't recall seeing one. There may be one. I know this is the only square baler that has one, because I specifically looked. Unless there's one in Mod Hub that I missed. Never used this baler before. It's a bit of a beast, eh? Better not do that too much, or I'll have to come back and clean that up. Yeah, I know most farmers probably wouldn't. Those little bits and pieces that get missed, they wouldn't come back and clean it up. But I don't know if it's OCD or anal or what is. It bugs me. I got to come back and pick all those up. Now, this is a job I do in cab a fair bit, but we're going to stay out so we can watch our baler work. That is the intention after all. Now, I don't know if you noticed when the unit was sitting up and I baled the straw, I had the rake on the front, even though it was windrowed, and I actually should have put it on here because it just makes that little mess that we just passed. It cleans it right up, and you don't have to come back and clean it up. And I think I kind of forgot it. I think I will run back up and grab it, because it's nice, especially if you can't leave little pieces of grass laying on the field. It makes life a little easier. So I quite often use it, even though it's everything's already windrowed, because it's the smaller of there's two of them that are like that. There's one that's a bigger model, and the one I have on here is the smaller model, so it's it's more maneuverable. Yeah, see, like those little things that just went by, I don't typically leave those. Oh, look, there's some more. Oh, getting on my nerves already. Yeah. If you see me doing this again, you'll find that rake on the front. It's really helpful, I find, when doing straw, because every time the combine stops, when you have to unload, you get that huge pile. There's I actually haven't found any gear, forage wagon or baler that'll pick all that up. But with that rake on, it kind of smooths it out, and you don't have any leftovers. Square baling is a little bit faster than the round bale for this, especially because I'm not aware of how to turn that wrapper off, so we'd still have to stop and let it wrap. And then we take our bales of grass and throw them in the silo. Total waste of time waiting for it to wrap. Can we swing around this way? Oh yeah, easy. Now we were going to compare last harvest off of here. We got 31 bales, but we only had one fertilizer state. Now we have two. We were going to do a comparison, but I'll do the calculation. I know we had 31 bales at I'm pretty sure they're 3,500 liters. And we'll compare to how many liters we get of these. some of that, if we do have an additional amount, we can attribute it to the fertilization, and I suppose some of it to our silage additive as well. Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's going down any faster than it does on like the forage wagon, so oh, that's a nice bonus. Because with all our grass fields, if we were picking this up with a forage wagon, we definitely would have had to stop and fill the tank for sure if we were using a forage wagon. After we get this job done though, I think we'll be back to kind of fast forwarding through the days and picking up contracts. I just looked before I brought you guys in, there's still no contract available until either contracts come up or our next harvest is ready. I don't know how it is for those you fellow players, but you know, on a map you kind of go along and it seems like you kind of always scrambling for money, and then you kind of reach that tipping point, if you like, where suddenly the money starts rolling in. We're not quite there on Calmsden, but boy, it feels like we're getting close with our silage operation, because I'll calculate how much silage we need to keep the biogas plant going for a year. And then any excess we'll sell off, obviously at the best price. And our open air gardens are just about full of fertilizer. The next trip up, they'll definitely be full, and we can start selling off our solid fertilizer, because we are going to stick with the liquid for now. We already have all the equipment for it, and selling the solid fertilizer will more than pay for our liquid fertilizer we use. So unless something changes, we're going to stick with that. And then of course our farm shop should have pretty regular income rolling in. That's certainly the plan anyway. Take one more look before we say goodbye. Sure, that is a bit of a beast, because that Massey's not a small tractor. That's a big, oh, look at all that I missed. Anyways, guys, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to get all this baled up. I will do that calculation and we'll see how this grass harvest compared to the last. And I'll bring you back in when we're ready to dump some of these bales into the silo, show you how that works, which of course is not all that complicated, but we'll do it. And I will be using the auto load trailer for that. I'm not going to buy an auto stack for these square bales, because most of this work from here forward I will be doing offline, so, or off camera I should say. So I'll just use that auto stack trailer to move these. So hopefully that doesn't bother anybody. Anyways, I will carry on with this, get this stuff baled up, and I'll come back to you with the yield results. So talk to you in a bit. Hey guys, the baling's all done. The review on the baler, really like it. You can see we're at 96 liters out of 120. So it does seem like it uses at about the same rate as a forage wagon, I would say. And the nice thing is we would have had to fill a forage wagon 3 times, and this one, of course, we didn't have to fill at all. So that's a pretty sweet deal. You can see I did end up putting that rake on the front. I started baling, as you know, down by the shop, and I moved my way to the north. And about halfway through field 23, or maybe 2/3, is when I hit the bale limit. So I had to stop and dump some bales in our silo. So didn't get them all done, and even once we get rid of those other silage bales that are sitting there, we still would not be able to do all of our fields. Close, we'd probably be get to up north anyways. And I actually finished up north and ended up forgot to unload the baler, so I brought it down here. Uh, but speaking of bales, let me grab my notepad here. When we did that field down by the shop last time, we got 31 bales, round bales, at 3,500 liters. That works out to 108,500 liters. This time we got 38 bales at 60,000 liters, or 6,000 liters, I should say, sorry. That's 228,000 liters. So getting that extra fertilizer on there counts for most of it, and of course our silage additive should have added 5%. So there's pretty significant difference, as we expected. What I find interesting is on no man's land on the map grass, it would not let me add an extra fertilizer state, but on here we could do it no problem. So it must be at the discretion of the map maker, I guess. What I thought we might do, if we get some time, I might actually plow that field out and put actual planted grass in there and see if that makes any difference. Just if we got some downtime while we're waiting for contracts or some such. Speaking of contracts, none have come up so far. And I thought we'd try something I've heard can be done. I don't know why it wouldn't work, but I've never done it. Is we're going to use the auto load trailer, and we're gonna manually load the bales on. Now I've got it parked there. It's in the auto load configuration, so I'm suspecting that we're going to be able to just drive up with our bale and it'll auto load. It's kind of a bit of a nod to realism, but you don't have to worry about stacking them neatly. Now, I heard it can be done. Like I said, I've never done it, so I thought, what the heck, we give it a try. I always kind of thought about it, but never actually did it. Okay, so I would have thought I would have grabbed it, set it on. Nope. How about if we take it off? Oh, so we'll actually grab it off the fork. We have to put it down on the deck, but like I said, you don't have to worry about stacking it then. Get our fork back down here. A bit more of a nod to realism, but you don't have to stack them. Oops, what happened there? Must have been just too close to the top, I guess. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate how much silage we need to keep the biogas plant running for a year. Once we hit that total, everything over and above that, I'm going to sell off. Oh, that time I took it off with a fork. And that's the plan. I might sell some a little in the interim, but I know what we need to have. If I've got that much come, our last grass harvest, so to speak, we'll be good. We'll definitely keep the biogas plant running all year, and that's the main thing. We don't need to worry about keeping any silage on hand for... Oh, that one I have to take off again. I guess it just keeps you guessing. For our cows, because that's going to be all in our bales. Now, I'm going to try setting this one on top of this bale, because we're soon going to have a... Hopefully it doesn't have to be right on the deck of the trailer. Ah, no, perfect. Yeah, this is not a bad option if you want to do something a little more realistic and you don't want to use an auto stack trailer. Oops. I still have the bales to pick up north. I haven't got them yet, but I thought I'd do this before it got dark so you guys could see. All right, well, I'll carry on. I'll bring you back in when I get this just about completely loaded. I want to show you how it stacks on. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, how it would stack these on there. So it was just kind of interesting, so I want to share that with you. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, I wanted to bring you back in to show you how it stacks the last row on this trailer. I haven't seen another autoload trailer or truck in either FS19 or so far in FS22 that did it this way. Now, I haven't used them all, of course. Oh, that was pretty underwhelming. That's not what I was expecting. Just one sec, and I'm going to make sure that the auto load is still on. I'll get right back to you. Yes, indeed, auto load is still on. I thought it would be. I hadn't done anything. I should have turned it off. Let's grab another one and try, although I can't imagine it'll be any different. Quite sure why that isn't stacking up there. Well, isn't that interesting? So I should be able to still grab that because it's not a... Let's try something else. Hard to believe it would make a difference, but let's do this. Oh, what it's supposed to do is stack a row, like the last row opposite direction like that across the top. That's what we used to do when we would take and stack bales in a pickup truck, you know, the small square bales. We'd have a double row, but the top row we'd put in the opposite direction, a single one across the top. Kind of help lock it in place, and that's what this reminded me of, and I hadn't noticed any other trailer doing it. I'm going to do this. Well, Wow, that's even less than what I expected. All right, guys. Well, you know what? We'll call that a bit of a fail for that, and I'm going to unload that stack, and I'll use the auto load function, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll be right back. Well, that's what I wanted to show you, that I put those bales in the opposite direction along the top. Although that is a full trailer, I'm not quite sure why they didn't, put at least a couple more up there. But anyways, it just reminded me when I used to stack them on our pickup truck, so I thought I'd share that with you. I'll get the rest of these bales picked up and dropped off in our silo, and I'll catch up with you then. See you in just a few minutes. Hey guys, well, back for the last time messing around with these bales, I promise. But I kind of figured out what was going on, or realized what was going on, and I thought I'd share that with you. It's just that the auto trigger, doesn't have an infinite height to it. It stops at some point. So once we get beyond placing that third row on, we get outside the trigger. But if we place this down here, back away, there, it loads just fine. But anyways, I checked the time before I came on and record this last little segment, and it looks like this might be a little longer episode. I apologize for that. We messed around for a while with these bales and that. I'll see at time of editing if I can shorten it up a little bit, because the last episode was a little long as well. But all I'm going to do here is pick up the rest of these bales, and I think we'll call that a day here on the farm and a wrap for this episode, and we'll pick it up tomorrow morning on the farm. So if you're still with me, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you found this entertaining or informative anyway, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to see when other content like this lands, I encourage you to hit that notification bell. But for this episode, this is Farmer Murphy signing off.